When I hear about wide receivers for the 2023 NFL Draft, the same couple names come to mind, but for some reason, they are all forgetting one of the most talented players in the country, who in my opinion is the best kept secret in this year's draft. Not only is he super athletic, but he led the country in receptions, was second in touchdowns, and was an All-American. This guy was by no means a slouch, and I think he's going to make franchises pay for letting him slip to day 2 or day 3. In today's video, how this guy spent time at 3 different colleges, walked away from a scholarship for a chance to play Big Ten football, and how he could be the biggest steal in this year's draft. But before we get started, be sure to leave a like if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you're new to the channel, let me know what player I should cover next, and don't forget to turn on post notifications so you never miss when I upload. Now, let's get started. So you're probably wondering who the subject of today's video is, and it is none other than Charlie Jones. But in order to understand how Jones got to this point, we first need to go back in time. Let's start this video out with a quote from Jones. Quote, "I just bet on myself. I believed I could play against the best of the best every week, and that's why I made the move from Buffalo to Iowa. After that, I wanted to prove that I was one of the best receivers, so I made the move from Iowa to Purdue." Going back in time, Jones grew up in the Chicago area and was one of 8 kids in his family, but things were tough. His parents were divorced, and one of his brothers even got cancer. At the time, he leaned on his Catholic faith and God to get him through it. As he said, quote, "It was tough seeing your brother fight for his life. He stayed in the family room, but we also couldn't spend a lot of time around him because we didn't want to get him more sick." Honestly, I can't imagine how hard that was for Charlie, and football became a big deal to him. He grew up in Deerfield, Illinois, and luckily had a couple of friends who were good at football. One of them was a quarterback named Aiden. That was in fact Aiden O'Connell, who, in case you don't know who that is, actually started his college career out at Wheaton College before walking on at Purdue and becoming the 7th string quarterback. Ended up beating out those 6 quarterbacks ahead of him and is now a likely NFL draft pick and one of the better quarterbacks in Purdue history. Jones grew up in the Chicago area and showed immense potential on the football field and had one clear goal. He told the coach he wanted to play Division I football and wanted to play in the Big Ten. Unfortunately, things didn't really work out for him in high school. He played several positions while he was there, which included corner, wide receiver, and both kick and punt returner. While at Deerfield High School, he showcased athletic traits, but was not super productive. He had 156 rushing yards and 183 receiving yards as a senior, which really aren't that good of numbers, but it wasn't all his fault. There were 2 main factors working against him, as he had injuries during his senior year, and the offensive philosophy at Deerfield. At the time, the team ran the triple option, and that limited his opportunities to showcase his skill set at receiver. He always wanted to be a Power 5 football player though, and he felt coaches were looking at him the wrong way. He said, quote, "I don't think they saw the competitor I was and how determined I was. They were looking at numbers instead of who I was." He would still get to play college football though, as when signing day came around, he would have a Division I paper to sign. He didn't bring multiple hats or have cameras all around him, but he did have a national signing day ceremony and didn't even tell the coach until the night before. He kept it pretty secret and eventually chose Buffalo over Ball State, Bowling Green, North Dakota State, Northern Illinois, and Western Michigan. He said it was a long process, but it was also exciting and stressful, and that no one knew until very late in the process where he was going to go. He said his official visit to Buffalo the weekend prior swayed his decision, as he said he talked to his dad and saw it as a place where he thought he could be. The Buffalo coaching staff found a hidden gem, as one scout said, quote, "He's a guy who is physically more developed than others. He does a lot for his team, and he's a guy who likes to really train and work out, and he's serious about being a good football player." Charlie was secretly one of the most underrated players in high school football and had a grand plan for his career, but he'd have to stay patient and wait a few years for it all to be on full display. According to 24/7 Sports, Jones was a 2-star recruit, the number 442 wide receiver, and the 3,165th best player in the class of 2017. So how would he end up doing at Buffalo? Well, while he was there, they had a star quarterback in Tyree Jackson, a future NFL running back in Jarrett Patterson, and another NFL receiver in KJ Osborne on the roster. He ended up redshirting his first year, but then in 2018, caught 18 passes for 395 yards and 3 touchdowns. After his redshirt freshman year, he felt it would be the time to move on and take a chance at his ultimate goal of playing Power 5 football. He said, quote, "I feel like after my second year I was there, a lot of people were moving on, and I felt it was something I should do. I wanted to take a chance and play against the best of the best, and try and find a Big Ten or SEC school. Unfortunately, when I was deciding to leave, no one had a scholarship for me, and I was like, you know what, I'm still going to take my chance. Iowa was a team that traditionally gave walk-ons a fair chance, so Charlie decided to transfer there. He didn't even have a scholarship, and in order to get on the field, he'd have to show major improvement as a receiver. It took Jones 3 semesters to get put on scholarship at Iowa, but after hanging out with a robot quarterback during 2020, he improved a ton and also made a name for himself on special teams. He was 6th in the nation in punt return yards in 2021 and led the Big Ten in kickoff return average that year as well. One of the problems was Iowa didn't have a high-powered offense. They ranked 109th out of 130th in passing yards in 2021, and Jones only had 21 catches. So he decided to make one more change with the extra year of eligibility he had. He decided to transfer to Purdue. Purdue ranked 5th in passing yards, and they had that Aiden O'Connell kid that he grew up with. Jones opted to be a graduate transfer and came there in mid-summer. Jones said he had other options in the portal as well, with schools such as Michigan, Notre Dame, and Auburn making a push, but he believed Purdue was the best place to showcase his abilities. He said, quote, "Going into the year, I was telling my family I wanted to do this. This was something I believed in, and they had my back. I told them, I want to be the best receiver in college football, and that's why I'm making the move. That's why I came to Purdue." So yeah, he'd get to reunite with Aiden O'Connell, who was also using his extra year, and those two would spend time learning the playbook and gaining chemistry. Behind the scenes, those two were becoming an insane duo, and could Charlie Jones be the next Rondale Moore or David Bell and continue Purdue's pipeline of sending receivers to the league? Yes, it would end up happening. In week 1, Purdue would play against Penn State, and that is when Jones would burst onto the national scene. Against the Nittany Lions, Jones caught 12 passes for 153 yards and a touchdown. Fortunately, they gave up a late score and lost. In week 2, Jones would catch 9 passes for 133 yards and a career-high 3 touchdowns, and now all of a sudden this guy was at the top of most statistical categories. But would he be able to do it through the whole year? The answer was yes. Against Syracuse, he caught 11 passes for 188 yards and a touchdown, but like the Penn State game, they blew it in the last few seconds and lost. After that, he'd have 2 touchdowns and a close victory over FAU, and then had 6 catches in a huge road win over number 21 Minnesota. He was limited against Maryland and had a career-high 12 catches and 2 touchdowns and a 6-point victory over Nebraska. He went for 10 catches and 100 yards against Wisconsin, 11 catches and 100 yards against Iowa, and then had a touchdown in their road victory over number 21 Illinois. This put Purdue in first place in the Big Ten West, and he'd finished the year strong. He had a touchdown in a close victory over Northwestern, and then in a pivotal game against Indiana, he caught 4 passes for 143 yards and a touchdown and took over. Because of this, Jones would help Purdue get to the Big Ten Championship, where they'd play against Michigan. In this game, Jones would once again make a name for himself on a national stage, as against some of the best defensive backs in the country, he'd catch 13 passes for 162 yards, breaking the record for a Big Ten Championship game, and while Purdue ended up losing by double digits, Jones was a star. After that, he decided to opt out of their bowl game and prepare for the 2023 NFL Draft. Jones had an insane season. He was named a unanimous All-American and a first-team All-Big Ten selection. The numbers Jones put up were amongst the best in the country, as he led the nation in catches and was 2nd in receiving yards. He was also 5th in terms of touchdown catches, and truly, you can make an argument that he was the best receiver in college football this year. He truly did make the right decision and will now become the 3rd straight Purdue receiver to get drafted. He's recently opened eyes at the NFL Combine, as he had the 10th best 40-yard dash time, and he ran a 4.43. Jones is someone who has insane production, has an unbelievable work ethic, and could transition into the slot for a team that needs someone there. Honestly, he reminds me of an Adam Thielen or a Julian Edelman kind of player, and don't be surprised when he burns your team on Sundays. Right now, he's a consensus 3rd, 4th, and 5th round pick, and sits just outside the top 100 in terms of his overall rank. But Jones has a chance to be one of the best receivers from this class, has an unbelievable story, and his chapter is not quite over yet. But what do you guys think? If you're a Purdue or Iowa fan, what do you think of Charlie Jones? How do you think he's going to do in the NFL? And who's another underrated prospect I could take a look at in my next video? Be sure to let me know down below. Leave a like if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out all my other videos on the end screen. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.